Your videos are getting views, people are watching, some are even subscribing. But if you're a real estate agent and none of that is turning into actual clients, there's a reason. And it may have nothing to do with needing more views because a channel can look healthy on the surface and still be built in a way that almost guarantees that the viewer never becomes a lead. The problem is figuring out which part of the channel is causing that because the obvious fix is often the wrong one. So let's start with the first place I would look, the topic. Because one of the easiest mistakes to make on YouTube is assuming that if the topic gets lots of views, it must be a good topic, right? Not necessarily. A video can get a lot of views and still be almost useless for your business. For example, maybe you're an agent in Tampa and you make a video called The 10 Best Seafood Restaurants in Tampa. It'll probably get a lot of views. People like going out to eat. They like restaurants. But what does that tell you about the viewer? They could be a tourist. They could already live there. They're just looking for a review on a specific restaurant. They're looking for a place to take mom for Sunday brunch. It does not mean that they are planning to sell their house or buy a house or that they are looking for a realtor. The topic attracted attention. It did not indicate any intent to do a real estate transaction, and that is a huge difference. The best topics for a real estate channel are not just interesting, they're connected to a decision. Are they moving to the area? Are they leaving the area? Are they buying here? Are they selling here? Deciding between neighborhoods, understanding HOAs, commute times, cost of living, lifestyle. The closer the topic is to a real decision someone is making, the better the chance that that view has of eventually becoming business. That does not mean that every video has to sound like, call me to buy a house. Please don't do that. But the topic should bring the right person into your world. Because once you fix the topic, the next question is, who is actually watching this? And this is where agents can fool themselves with analytics. You see 5,000 views and you think, oh my gosh, this is working so well. Maybe, but who are those 5,000 people? I see this all the time when my students say, I'm going to try making YouTube shorts. Oh my gosh, it's working. I get 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 views on every single short that I make. And I say, well, that's great. Who are the people watching those shorts? Are they sellers in your city? No, they're in Bangladesh. So yes, you got a lot of views, but they're not people that will ever turn into a transaction for you. Therefore, it's all just vanity metrics. It doesn't lead to any business. You can have a channel that looks impressive and still be attracting almost no potential clients. And this is why I just don't care about vanity metrics. I care much more about intent. Are the people watching your videos the people that would actually turn into clients for you? Because if the answer is no, getting more views just gives you more of the wrong audience. That's not growth. That's just a bigger version of the same problem, which is no business. Now, let's say that the topic is right, the viewer is right, they're actually thinking about selling a home in your area or figuring out if they can afford to buy. They watch your video. What happens next? And this is where a lot of channels just drop the ball because the viewer watches one video. They get the answer to their question and then they leave. They learned something, but they didn't move any closer to talking to you. Maybe there's no related video for them to watch next. Maybe the channel videos feel very random. You talk about anything and everything, but there's no clear path for them to take in order to reach out to you. And so from the viewer's point, there's no reason to stick around. This matters because people are not going to watch one video and immediately hand you a listing or ask you to write an offer. They need more time with you than that. They need to see your personality. How do you think? How do you act? They need to hear you explain things clearly. They need to decide whether they trust you. They need enough exposure to you that contacting you starts to feel like the logical choice, not awkward. The video gets the click, but the channel has to build the trust. And if your channel is not giving people a reason to keep watching, the gap never closes. This is also why I do not think every video needs to have a big dramatic call to action at the end. You do not need to say, "Call me, here's my phone number. I'd love to help you answer all your questions. I'm your realtor for life." That gets old really fast, and people don't really like it. Sometimes the best step is just watch another video. And I would argue that most of the time, that's the best next step. So if they're watching a video about moving to Savannah, my next video could be how much it actually costs to buy a house here. If they're watching a video about selling a home in order to move into a 55 and over community, maybe the next video showcases a bunch of your favorite 55 plus communities. One video should naturally lead to the next logical question they will have, and then you have a video that answers that question too. This is how people go from being a random viewer to a returning viewer to a subscriber to a lead and client. And then there's the most important thing, the lead capture, because eventually some people are going to be ready for the next step. Maybe they want to talk to you. Maybe they want to download your free guide, or they want to schedule a phone call with you. Something useful enough that they're willing to raise their hand and say, "Yes, I want that. I need that. Give it to me now." And that's when we get them off of YouTube and into your CRM. But this only works if everything before it is aligned. The right topic, the right viewer, a reason to keep watching, enough trust, and a logical next step. This is why just chasing views is the wrong first move. If the system underneath the views is broken, more traffic doesn't solve the problem. It just sends more of the wrong people into a broken system. So if your channel is getting views but not clients, are these videos about topics tied to real decisions? Are the right people watching? Do you know if the right people are watching? Go look at your analytics. Does the channel give them a reason to keep watching and come back over and over again? And is there an obvious next step when they are ready? That's the difference between a channel that gets views and a channel that gets business. And that's exactly why I'm such a big believer in building the channel correctly before you spend 6 months filling it with random videos. I created a step-by-step program called Build a YouTube Channel in 48 Hours. I will link it down below. And I highly recommend that if you have not set your channel up so that it will attract leads, go do that right now. You can get the whole thing knocked out in 2 days and position yourself to start attracting clients.